This session introduces key words and comparative constructions for describing sociolinguistic variation. We will learn how to talk precisely about proportion, likelihood, and constraints, so that our written work and oral exams report patterns in language use with appropriate academic accuracy. Here is the roadmap. We begin with the purpose of the guide, then move to key words for analyzing case studies, then core comparative sentence structures, and finally a grammar focus on subject auxiliary inversion. Note the color code, which distinguishes terms, concepts, and illustrative examples. The purpose of this guide is to collect the metalanguage and sentence patterns you need to describe sociolinguistic variation confidently. It extends the Unit 4 reading packet using examples from key papers and organizes the material into 4 sections that we will work through systematically. When you describe a variable in a study case, you are usually talking about its relative frequency, not simple presence. Our toolkit consists of 10 key terms in 3 families: quantifying terms, constraint terms, and explanatory terms. Together, they allow you to discuss patterns in a precise way. This slide introduces quantifying and constraint terms. We define proportion, frequency, and likelihood, and then factors that favor or disfavor a variant or constrain its realization. Note how each term is paired with an example, so you can see how it appears in real sociolinguistic prose. We now focus on environment and explanatory terms. Constraints on frequency, conditioning factors, and environments describe where a variant occurs. Correlate with, accounted for by, and categorical versus variable help you interpret patterns without overstating certainty or causality. All the terms we have seen point to 2 main types of constraint: internal or linguistic. Constraints are grammatical or phonological, such as the sound that begins the next word. External factors or constraints involve style, social group, or ethnicity. Most studies report both together. We now move from individual words to sentence-level tools. The guide presents 5 comparative structures. 4 come from the original Unit 4 handout, and 1 is added here. Each has a formula and a worked example drawn from the readings, giving you reliable templates for your own writing. Structure 1 is proportional comparison between groups. It lets you say that one group's speech displays a higher or lower proportion of a variant than another's. Notice the subject auxiliary inversion in the than clause. Than does the speech of men, not than the speech of men does. Both are grammatical, though. Structure 2 reports linguistic conditioning. It states that deletion of a variant is more likely in one environment than another. The worked example shows tiki, dide, deletion in consonant versus vowel contexts. This pattern is purely internal. Only the neighboring sounds are doing the work. Structure 3 layers a social factor on top of a universal baseline. First, you state the baseline linguistic constraint that applies across varieties. Then you add how a social group modifies this baseline. This helps you keep linguistic and social explanations analytically distinct in your writing. Structure 4 explains a finding using can be accounted for by since. It allows you to attribute a pattern to a factor and mechanism without claiming proof of causality. The Belfast network example shows how network structure can account for higher vernacular use among particular speakers. Structure 5 is for statistical association without causation. You state that the use of a variant correlates with a factor, and explicitly note that this does not, on its own, prove that the factor causes the pattern. Use this frame whenever you interpret correlations in your analyses. Finally, we highlight subject auxiliary inversion. In academic prose, this appears mainly in 2 places: comparative than clauses, where the second subject is a full noun phrase, and fixed comparative tags, such as is the case with. Mastering these patterns will make your comparisons more precise. We close with Meyerhoff's reminder that language both reflects and shapes social relations. The comparative choices you make, correlates with versus causes, more likely versus always, help construct sociolinguistic knowledge. Use this toolkit to report findings with careful precision.